Hey everybody, and welcome to Board Game Breakfast. I'm Tom Vasel, and this is a show all about board games and the people who play them. We are near the end of the year. Christmas is only a couple weeks away. I'm looking forward to it. Lots of things going on, but there's a couple things I want to tell you folks about. First of all, we are in January. We're going to be doing our top 100 games of all time. We'd like you guys to join in on that. And so the way we do that is you can go to our website, dicetower.com, and you can basically click on the vote for the top 100 there. You can vote for up to 25 of your favorite games of all time. The order does matter. And when we do our top 100, we'll have the People's Choice in there too. And you'll see what games everyone thinks are the best games of all time. And I actually find that list even more fascinating than our own lists. So that's coming up. This is the end of the year. We're going to be doing end of the year stuff. This is the end of a decade. I know, technically it's not the end of a decade, but everyone else is saying it, so we are too. We're going into the 20s here, which is a weird thing to think about and say. So there's all sorts of stuff going on. We're going to have a lot of live stuff this week, and we hope you enjoyed that. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. But let's get started with something I found on the internet. So we mentioned this in the news segment last Thursday on our live board game breakfast, which if you don't watch, we do a live board game breakfast each week. But in that segment, we talked about Stonemaier Games, which has made one of the most popular games of the year, Tapestry. And Jamie Stegmaier, the designer and president of the company who made Tapestry, this very popular game, had released a paper, which I printed out to put in our own copies of Tapestry, giving upgrades and changes to the different civilizations in Tapestry. So some civilizations are considered weaker. They start with extra points or resources. Some are too strong, and they start with negative points or lose some resources. Now, of course, something like this is always going to draw controversy, and this is the part that I find interesting. This happens many times in companies. They'll release a game, and after a while, people will say this card is unbalanced or this card is too powerful. And then the company will release either a second edition that fixes it or a list of things. Like, obviously the biggest example of this would be the Black Lotus and the different Moxes. And the Magic the Gathering had to ban certain cards because they were too powerful for the game. Now, as time comes by, they still will sometimes have to make tweaks, but they now will be rotating out older sets from their play, and so that's kind of one way to do it. And, what do you do in this case? So let's say you do find an overpowered card. I mean, you could double down on it and say, nope, not overpowered. And some companies have done this. Some people I've talked to, I said, well, this is clearly better than this. And the company will tell me, no, I don't really think so. I'm like, it seems like overwhelming evidence seems. And they're like, no. They double down on it. Others will release a FAQ or a second edition of the game that fixes these. There's some of the companies, the second, third, and fourth edition, and there's consistent changes in these games. David Serlin did that with his games. But, it is a catch-22. And I say, what do you do? Do you pretend there's no problem, or do you fix it? And I know, some of you out there are saying the answer is obvious. Get it right the first time. Well, that's not always possible, right? You can playtest something a ton, and it still goes through. This reminds me, I always tell people when I worked in a print shop, and I was there, and I saw lots of the different process where they started with the writing of the book, and then the people who laid it out, and then it went to the plates, and then the printers printed it, then it came to the folders, and we folded the papers, and then it went through the printing press itself. And at each of those levels, there's quality control. There's people who are checking it, and yet mistakes still get through. It just happens. Now, I tend to not be upset about fixes as long as they're easy to find and know. I also think that it's not usually the end of the world if you don't have them, unless you're playing in an extremely competitive environment. And I would rather there be acknowledgement that there's imbalances and stuff, and it be tried to address, than nothing happen at all. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Aaron from the Board Game Brothers, and welcome to another episode of Mystery Component Monday, a segment where I show you a picture of a game piece, and it's up to you to try to guess what game that piece comes from. So, let's put on our thinking caps, because here is this week's picture. Okay, time's up, pencils down, and thinking caps off. And the answer to this week's question is, that's pretty clever. That's Pretty Clever is a roll and write game for up to 4 players. On their turn, players will roll all the dice and decide which one of the 6 dice to keep and score on their paper. Any dice lower than the value of the selected die are moved to the play area designated in the box. Then they roll the remaining dice and select the new die to keep and score. Players are allowed to keep up to 3 dice over the course of their turn, and all other players may then choose one of the discarded dice that the active player did not keep and score it on their paper. Each section on their paper scores in different ways. Depending where they mark the die on their paper, players will also unlock new abilities, such as re-rolling dice and keeping an extra die. All the areas on their paper also allow for them to mark different areas. These can be used in combination with each other, chaining from one another. After a set number of rounds, players will add up their total scores and the player with the most points wins. This game looks like it might be complicated, but once you start playing and chaining multiple effects into each other, you'll be thinking to yourself, wow, that's pretty clever. And that's this week's game. Congratulations to everybody who got it right, and for everybody else, there's always next week. Until then, I hope you all have a happy breakfast.
Okay, just a few games added to the library this week. We're adding, of course, some party games, 20-second showdown. I needed another copy of Takinoko. We had the very huge version, but sometimes people don't want to play that version. Coralia from R&R Games. Age of Dirt from Whiz Kids. Wavelength, really great party game. And then Babylonia, although I'll show you, one of my problems with Babylonia was these didn't stay up high enough, but I put little feet on these so that they stand up off the table, and it works fantastic. And that's what we added to the library this week.
Hey everyone! Today on To Paint or Not to Paint, I'm going to take you through Zombicide Invader. Hey everyone, Matty from the Plastic Canvas, and welcome to Paint or Not to Paint, a series where I quickly take you through a game and then talk about whether I think it's worth spending the time to paint the miniatures in it or not. And today we're taking a look at Zombicide Invader. This is the sci-fi themed version of the Zombicide franchise, where players are working together as a team to try and wipe out the invading Xeno horde that's attacking your facility, try and collect some objective markers along the way, and then get what survivors you can to the exit point. Very similar to other Zombicide games, just with some tweaks here and there. So, is this game worth painting? Well, it's a Zombicide game, so yes. But I do really have to say that I recommend having an airbrush to paint this one, because painting the Xenos in Invader is not like painting the zombies from the other Zombicide games, because the zombies in the other games have a flat skin tone and then clothes over the top that you can easily block in with a brush, not a problem at all. But the Xenos in Invader aren't wearing any clothes, and their skin transitions from greys to blues to reds, and if you're going to try and do all of those blends on all 60 odd Xenos with a brush, you are going to be there for a very, very long time, unless you're happy to sacrifice on the quality to keep the time down. Now, one option that I do think that you have if you're using a brush is that you could just paint the survivors and the turret and the bot and leave the Xenos unpainted, but if you're just using a brush, I do think you need to consider whether you have the time to properly do this game justice. Now, if you do have an airbrush, this is a no-brainer. This game is begging to be painted. The sculpts in this game are really, really cool, but like I've said in previous videos, cool sculpts are still just grey plastic out on the board, but painting them really brings the game to life, ties everything together, brings out the theme. This game looks awesome on the board when it's painted, and the artwork is really, really cool. And using an airbrush, it's so much easier to blend from one colour to another, and so, you know, it's not super easy, but it is fairly effortless to, to really bring these minis to life. So if you have an airbrush, this is a no-brainer for me. If you don't, I'm not saying don't paint it, but I do think you need to consider whether you have the time to properly put into it. So if you'd like to see a full review for this game, go check out the Dice Tower review. And if you'd like to see me painting minis, including Zombicide Invader, plus a bunch of other games, head over to my channel, The Plastic Canvas, and I hope you enjoy your breakfast.
Hi everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany, Board Game Reviews.
Alright, well today we're going to be talking about Ecos First Continent. But before we do that, we're going to talk about what we're doing to try to achieve better health in our lives.
And we have a nice, sweet victory.
Alright, so our daughter went to a party tonight where she had the options to have lemonade and pizza and all that kind of stuff. But when she came home, the first thing she said was, "Hey, can I have a salad?" Absolutely, yes. You can, for sure. So just keep that in mind. Your kids are watching what you're doing, and we're trying to eat healthier. She's doing better than I am, certainly, but it's really nice to see that what we're doing to middling success, our kids are watching, and they're now making healthier choices as well, based off of seeing us make healthier choices. So that's pretty cool to see.
All right, but enough about that. Let's talk about Eco's First Continent. In Eco's First Continents, you are forces of nature creating the earth. So you're creating ocean, and there's mountains and trees and all these animals, and you're creating this brand new world.
This game is absolutely stunning to look at. And on top of that, the theme just makes a lot of sense, too. I mean, certain kind of animals can only go in certain areas. And the gorilla wants to be where the mountains are. And the rhino wants to be where the desert is. And everything just makes a lot of sense. And it's super fun to kind of build this world in front of you and see it kind of expand and grow and hopefully get some points along the way.
Yeah, it plays 2 to 6 players, and when you play the higher player count, a lot more things come out, and there's a lot more interaction between the things, but there's also a lot less control. And because of that, we actually prefer the lower player count. Even though you don't see as much, you just have more control over what you're doing and what you're trying to build. And who doesn't like control?
Yeah, there's also less downtime, too, so that's another reason why we like the lower player counts. All right, well, that's our thoughts on Ecos First Continent. If you want to hear our full thoughts, be sure to check out our review. You can either go to YouTube or on Facebook. We are Ryan and Bethany, Board Game Reviews.
All right, well, this is Ryan. I'm Bethany, wishing you a happy, healthy breakfast. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
So what's coming from the Dice Tower this week? Well, first of all, there's going to be more reviews of various games. But we got 2 things that are going to be going on all week. First of all, I'm going to be continuing with my top 10 list from 2019. We're going to do those live. They're very short. I'll come and talk about them. If you're there watching, maybe have a quick discussion with you about that particular topic. And then we move on. But something else that's going to happen each day this week is Z and I are going to be starting a review of the decade. We're going to be taking a look back at the decade, starting with the year 2010, 2011. Each day we're going to take a look at the year, the games that came out that year, what we think of the year as a whole, and just, kind of just some chat about that. And again, it's going to be live, so you can come in and chat about that. We'll be doing a live play this week, probably of a game. There will be a Q&A, and so there's a lot of different live things throughout the week, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. And that's what's coming from the Dice Tower this week. Let's move on.
Hi everyone, my name is Dave Luzin. There's a grid of 16 random pictures, and it's your job to convey to the other players which one you got assigned. But you're only using sticks and stones. Welcome to Pictures, a competitive game where you're trying to figure out what picture the other players are hinting at using shoelaces. After a few plays, you figure out there's a lot you can do with a couple of colored cubes and your creativity. The next game I want to talk about is a game from a booth I normally would not stop at. But my son spent hours on end demoing it at Essen. So the game is called 4 Elements. It is a flicking game where each player has unique pieces. You have a lord that you don't want to be pushed off the table. And you can protect yourself by putting down barriers and elements. The cool thing is you can set up however you like, and your unique pieces give you new ways of experimenting with new setups every time you play. For reviews on both these games, check out our channel. Happy breakfast, everyone. Bye.
I'll continue my series now of reviewing things that are not board games real briefly. So far, I want to talk about Disney Plus. I was very excited about Disney Plus. I want to see the new content. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I'm a huge Disney fan. And I mean, I'm not a Disney fanatic. I've definitely met those living down here in Florida. But I like their stuff. I like Star Wars and Marvel especially. So when I heard that Disney was going to have its own streaming service, I was pretty pumped about it. Now, I am slightly disappointed at this point in time that my TV currently does not, I guess it was too old, does not have the Disney Plus service on it. But I can't get on computers, and I can hook my computer up to my TV, so there's that. So the thing I was most pumped about was the live action Marvel stuff. So I have to say, disappointed. I didn't realize that stuff wasn't coming at launch. And I honestly think that Disney Plus's lineup of launch stuff, there's not a ton of it. There's some, and obviously The Mandalorian, which I will review separately in the future, has been phenomenally cool, and our family as a whole has really liked it. But I want to wait till the series finishes before I talk about that completely. I am amazed at the amount of back stuff there is, and I think Disney Plus is the first time I can say, here kids, go hog wild, watch what you want on a streaming service. I haven't been able to do that before. There's definitely a lack of hard-hitting stuff, so if you're looking for amazing drama and stuff, there's some great stuff there. I love sports movies, and there's plenty of those on the channel. But it's mostly nostalgic. I see that, and it just makes you feel like a kid again. I can watch DuckTales, and I can watch, all these, other things, and I can see the Star Wars movies and most of the Avengers movies. And I'm sure that this service will get better and better. I feel like it runs very smoothly, very similar to Netflix, and so far I've been really happy with the service. The price point is also not bad. So I'd give this an 8 out of 10. It's pretty useful. I think it could become one of the most watched. Netflix is still beating it in our household, if only because there's several cartoons my kids are invested in, and I like some of the original stuff that Netflix does. But Disney Plus is a pretty strong contender, and I can see it becoming, it's probably number 2 already in streaming services for us and could move on. All right, let's go back to games.
Hi everyone, my name's Danielle from the YouTube channel Board Game Bakes. This week I'm going to focus on the game Photosynthesis by Blue Orange Games. In this game you have beautiful tree pieces that you use to get your points. This week I'm going to recreate the tree pieces. The goal is to make it so they could fit together and stand up on their own, but some modifications may be needed. This is how you make them. For the light green trees, I outlined and filled the tree's foliage with green frosting. I then added shadowing by dabbing on a darkened brown icing with a paper towel. For the spruce trees, I used the teal royal icing to color the tree and create a similar color using the Wilton's edible paint. Similarly, the orange cookies were colored with orange royal icing. They are shaded with the dark icing and orange edible paint. I also added some details with an edible marker. Okay, I confess, I changed these last trees and Christmasified them. I don't think that's a word, but it sounds fun. I changed the color to a more traditional Christmas green and added snow and garland. You can witness me performing cookie surgery to get the two pieces to fit together. There were some casualties, but overall I'd call it a success. Thanks for watching this overview for how to make your own trees from the game Photosynthesis. I like the twist I added in that I made the one tree into a Christmas tree too, because it is the holidays. Thanks for watching. Please go to my channel if you want to watch the whole video or get the recipe for the cookie. Keep playing games and keep them sweet. Bye!
Every year, folks, I go over 10 predictions for that year. I sometimes know some stuff, maybe, that behind the scenes that might influence what I say, but most of the time it's wild, wild guessing. Well, let's take a look last year when I made my predictions about 2019, and let's see how they turned out. I made 10 predictions. We'll start. First of all, I said there would be 3 more company mergers. Not necessarily huge ones, but mid-sized ones. And this one I think I got. I know Genius Games got Artana. Those 2 companies went together. Greater Than Games got Cheap Ass Games. Funko bought Forest Prison. And that's just a few. There's been Asmodee gobbled up a few more companies and other things. And this is not going to stop here. But yes, I think this one I got. Then I said Keyforge would remain successful throughout 2019, and that there would be another large second release of the game that would be successful enough to have a third release, which did happen. The third release just came out a month or so ago. We'll see how well it does in the future. Yay, 2 for 2. Then I said 8 of the 10 top-ranked games of the year on Board Game Geek would be Kickstarter funded. Yeah, that didn't happen. I blame Stonemeyer for that because Wingspan and Tapestry were 2 of the top ones, and they're not kickstarted. They're kind of pre-ordered, but it's not the same thing. And then the Lord of the Rings game and the Marvel game, both from Fantasy Flight, both of those very highly rated and yet also not kickstarted either. And Res Arcana and Tiny Towns, and so 4 out of the top 10 were Kickstarter funded. That's still pretty good. It just didn't happen this year. So I'm 2 for 3. Brass Birmingham, I said, would make it into the top 10 ranked games on Board Game Geek. And lo and behold, it's number 5. Yes, 3 for 4. Then I said that PAX, the attendance would go up at PAX Unplugged, while it would probably go down at Origins. I didn't think anything bad about Origins. I just thought it might go down. Well, in this one, both had to be right, and PAX did go up, but so did Origins. They said it was up by 11%, which is pretty big, so I got that one wrong. I am now 3 for 5. I said that 2 other companies would do unique games. Like Fantasy Flight, Keyforge, and they did Discover Lands Unknown, and nothing. That no one has done it. I guess it's a much harder thing to do than I suspected. I just figured some more people would jump on the bandwagon. So that is incorrect. I am now 3 for 6. Then I said there would be something new, technologically wise, with board gaming that's going to change it to be something we haven't seen before. And I think this has come out. The Come and their Taburu system, where the board is interactive with the thing. Now this hasn't happened yet. They haven't come out with it yet, but they sure showed it off at Gen Con and other places. And I think this is phenomenally cool. And I think it's one of the futures of board gaming. Not the future of board gaming as a whole, but I think we'll see people doing it. So yay, 4 for 7. And that's the last one I got right. I said there would be Descent 3rd Edition. Did not happen. Not even close. Fantasy Flight pivoted into Marvel stuff. I said there would be a small Japanese game that would be a huge hit, like Love Letter. That did not happen. There's some popular games from Japan, but not like Love Letter. Not even close. And then I said there would be a Fallout living card game. That didn't happen because, again, they made a Marvel living card game. So at the end of the day, I got 4 out of 10, which is a failing grade. Why would you trust me? Well, we'll see. Come back next week and I'll make my predictions about 2020 and we'll see if any of those come true. What are your, we'll talk about predictions next week, but what did you think would happen in 2019? And did it happen or did it not? Let me know.
Howdy folks, welcome to By the Numbers. My name is Hunter Thomason from the Family Showdown. This week we're continuing my Through the Years series. We're looking at the best games on Board Game Geek by year, starting with 1970, this week, 1985. Taking a look at the top 5, we see the number 1 game from 1985 is Advanced Squad Leader, coming in at number 256, but it's the 11th best board game. Advanced Squad Leader is a reorganization of the rules from Squad Leader, which made our list in the way back times. Way back. I don't know how reorganized it is, because when I did a little research on Advanced Squad Leader, and I see if you get the full rules, like all the rules for Advanced Squad Leader, it's about 1,000 pages. Doesn't sound very reorganized to me. If 1,000 pages is too much to digest, they do have these little ASL starter kits that you can find, mostly on the secondhand market. They give you a little tiny chunk. Little bite-sized pieces of the rules, and you learn the game kind of as you go. And then once you go through those, you can jump into the whole 3-wing binder craziness of the full rules. Take a look at the ratings, over 3,000 of them. Look at all those 10s. But with the BGG magic, it comes out to an 8 rating, which is pretty good. Pretty good. An 8's pretty good. Taking a look at the weight, it comes in at a 4.72. And I did a little research, a little math magic. I looked up on Board Game Geek. I looked at all the games on Board Game Geek to have at least 50 weight ratings of weight. And it comes in tied for the 3rd heaviest game on all of Board Game Geek that meets those requirements. So I'm still looking for that person to teach me my first real war game. Are you that person?
Happy breakfast, everyone. Now, as it's getting near Christmas, everyone's going to be thinking of those Christmas game nights. Those ones that are maybe last minute or ones that have had a little bit of planning. So we went for the planned option. We went to Counterculture Games in Chelmsford, Essex, England, UK. We decided to have food and go for a games night so everyone could get involved. We could de-stress straight away after work with a quick game, and we played Cobra Paw, very fast, fun dexterity game, and then went for food, allowed everyone to actually get there on time, have food, and then just go and play some games. Now, with 7, it's a little bit awkward because, not too many games cater for that. So what we did, we were able at the Games Cafe to play Cash and Guns, worked really well with that number of people, and then we split the tables apart to actually play a 4 and a 3 player game. Everyone seemed to enjoy that. It meant everyone had a bit of choice, and it was really nice that the Games Cafe actually sort of allowed us to do that, because there was certainly a lot of people in the shop. Of course, we ended the games night with everyone playing Junkart, which was just hilarious fun, and it went really well. That was our way of sort of getting around, having the big number, having a few sort of smaller games, like maybe Catan, Ticket to Ride in the middle, with some sort of everyone enjoys together games at either end of the games night. That seemed to work out really well. Let me know in the comment section below sort of how you've got around sort of large numbers. Do you just play large games, or do you split into sort of smaller games? Anyway, that was sort of Christmas games night, and I'm Oliver East, signing out.
And that's it for another Board Game Breakfast. Our Kickstarter is only a couple weeks away, so keep that in mind. We got some really cool promos, some really neat stuff coming in for that. And, 2019 has been a great year. You guys have helped make that happen. And, I'm excited to see what the future is. We're definitely sad to see Sam having gone, but we're going to keep working hard. We hope that you enjoy the live stuff, the Decade in Retrospective and things this week. It's been a great time. I can't wait. Thank you to all my contributors. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast on the Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production. Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.